And then, so you are obviously known, and Greg, someone who's a play-by-play announcer myself, you have been one of the key inspirations for how I call games because I love to bring enthusiasm. I love to bring excitement to all my broadcasts because we're so lucky to get to do what we do for a living. So, how are you able to find that style of being enthusiastic and excited during a broadcast when the Pirates do something well?
Well, I will say, Colton, with all due respect, I also do it when, and people don't realize this, which is fine, but I do it when great plays are made and great players play, regardless of what uniform they're wearing. I get excited about that, and some people don't like that. Some people, why does he get so excited about what the other team did? Well, it's a great play. It's sometimes disappointing, but I respect and appreciate great players. So, but in terms of excitement, it's because you already said it and you already do it yourself because you love the art of broadcasting. You love it's not a job, but I guess it's an occupation. It's fun. It's what I've always wanted to do my entire life. I'm realizing a dream and it comes naturally. There's nothing fake about it. My first year, I don't know if I've told you this before, Colton, but my first year of the Pirates, I have I said a bunch of family members. One of my brothers, an attorney in Pittsburgh, not too long after I started the Pirates, I don't know how many games. We were talking on the phone. We were talking about some of his buddies who found out that I was his brother, and hey, talk to some guys about you and your style broadcasting. And do you want to hear some criticism? I said, sure. And to this day, I want to hear it. I funnel in anything, and I respect and I appreciate it. The critiques. I want it. I want to do better. I want to be good. I want to be really good at it. And I continue to learn. He said two things, Colton. One thing he said was, they don't particularly like the fact that you call Bob walkie on the air. Now, Bob Walk and I had a history because I was in the front office while he was a pitcher. I didn't know him well, but I certainly knew him. I knew all the players when I was in the front office. And, less than a year into he started when I started as an announcer. We were friends. Um, but I thought about that. Oh, and he said, by the way, the other thing he said was, you get too excited over the Pirates. But anyhow, so and I hung up the phone and I thought about those two criticisms. And I thought about this thing about Bob Walk. And I put myself in the listener's frame of mind. I thought, wait a minute, why should I assume that anyone knows that I have a history with Bob Walk? Who is this kid from Buffalo, New York, who did Bills games? Where does he get off calling Bob Walk our guy, our pitcher? He's our guy, our Pirate. We know him as Walkie. But who's that guy to sound so familiar with him? I thought, you know what? That's a good one. And I never to this day call him Walkie on the air. I call him Bob. Off the air, I say Walkie, not on the air. But then I thought about the second criticism about getting too excited. And the more I thought about it, the angrier I got because my good friend, the late great Mike Lang, my mentor, my Yoda, if you listen to a hockey game early in the season, preseason, if Mario Lemieux scored a goal, you would know it was a preseason game. You'd have thought it was a playoff game. At the time, Myron Cope was living, and he was the color analyst of the Pittsburgh Steelers, but he was known as the voice of the Steelers. And it could be a preseason game one of the preseason. And if somebody, Louis Lips, scored a touchdown to make it, uh, the LA Rams, then the LA Rams 21, the Steelers 7 in the second quarter. Yeah, great catch by Louis Lips. It's unbelievable. I can't believe how good. Yeah. The Steelers are going. I mean, I thought, wait a minute, it's okay for him to go crazy, for Lang to go crazy, but a guy comes to Pittsburgh and he gets excited about the Pirates, and you don't like that? The heck with you. I'll do this. I'll do it forever. I'll be passionate about the team forever. You won't stymie that from me. because that would be uh, unfair and it would be phony if I because I'm not phony. And that's one thing Mike Lang told me. Don't be a phony. Don't be someone you're not because they will know that instantaneously, especially in Pittsburgh. They know a fraud, they know a phony. Don't be a phony. So I take it to heart and I won't apologize for being passionate and enthusiastic about our baseball team.
Yeah, and going to your relationship with Mike, Greg, what impact did Mike have on your career?
Well, aside from giving me my first break, he taught me you get a piece of everybody that you work with. I mean, all of them. Pete Weber. I learned from Pete Weber. I learned from Van Miller, the great voice of the Buffalo Bills. Uh, Lanny. I learned so much from Lanny. I learned from other broadcasters listening to them. Um, the other color analysts I've learned from. And from Mike, I learned a lot of stuff about how to handle yourself off the air as well as on the air. He would almost to the day he passed would text me, not all the time, but enough to remind me to smile. He would just text smile, and that not just you know not just when you're on camera, but people can tell when you're not smiling on the radio or doing play by play on TV and you're not even on camera, they can tell. So smile. Uh, he taught me about voice inflection, and I fight it to this day. Um, I was critiquing someone's work. A gentleman from who's going to school at Syracuse wants to be a play-by-play guy, and he sent me some stuff. And I thought about Mike because I said one thing is, and I'm no expert, but this would what Mike told me, and I still fight it, is to vary your cadence. Don't always get there's a fly ball to left field and it's gone, and that's a 2-1 game. And on the upbeat, he said, you can bring it down once in a while. Bring it down. Uh, a goal scored, he would sometimes, oh, love you, makes it 3-2. Not just 3-2 Penguins. But again, he was a student. He was a master of how he used his voice inflection, and but a thousand things. I mean, uh, Mike taught me. I was with Mike on many occasions at bars when people would come up to and offer him suggestions for calls. One of my buddies, um, Mark Norelli, and I were out at a bar when this is again before I was even doing pre and post game with Mike and Steve. I had known Mike, and we were out at I don't know where it was. But, Mike loved those. He loved the blues, and he would just like to sit by himself, especially after games. I would learn this later in life, like to quit talking to Mike, quit asking him questions, just let him go. He would love to sit at a bar with his back to the chaos and smoke and listen to music and have a drink quietly as best as he could. And again, mayhem ensued all around him. And a buddy and I that Mike knew from the Pirate front office, Mark Norelli, and I were standing off to the side one night at this bar, and Mike leaning over, the counter. He's got the smoke going, and he's got a drink. He's nursing the drink. And he's listening to some music, and people are talking all over the place. And my buddy's telling this story to me, and he called me Brown, and he said, Brown, I swear, this guy didn't know whether to, and he cussed, beep, or wind his watch. And Mike spun around and said, what'd you say? He goes, what? What'd you say, Norelli? He goes, the guy didn't know whether to blank or wind his watch. Why? He goes, I like it. And he spun back and he goes, excuse me, Missy, do you have a napkin? He hands him a napkin and a pen. And now we're going like, wait a minute. Are you going to use this as a call? I might. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What do you mean? What are you going to do? And you see, he's writing stuff down. He stuffs it in his pocket. Oh my gosh. Oh my, like we're going crazy. You're going to use this as a call? So now we go to hockey games. This is before the internet and everything else. So we go to a game. We run back to the car and we'd turn on the radio and we'd listen to the post-game highlights. And Mike Lang said, Yager made it a 4-2 game. Yager down the right wing circle. He shoots and scores and scratch my back with a hacksaw. And he'd do the call. Oh, he's still not using it, not using it, not using it. And eventually Norelli said, you got to call Lang. He's got to use that call. So I called Mike. I said, Mike, Norelli's really upset because we keep listening for you and you're not using the call. And he said, will you tell him to be patient? And he said, first, and by the way, I'm going to have to clean it up. I can't use that cuss word. I said, okay, I'll tell him. I said, Norelli, he said, be patient. One night, go to a game, run back down, dead of winter, run down to our cars, get in the car, turn on it's freezing cold, turn on the post-game show. Mike's doing the show. And in the third period, Mario Lemieux gave the Penguins a 3-2 lead against the Flyers. And here comes Yager down the right wing circle, shoots, passes off to Lemieux. He shoots and scores. And Hextall didn't know whether to cry or wind his watch. And we were stars. We're screaming, we're high-fiving. That was our call. Well, actually, it was Norelli's call, not even mine. But so Mike taught me that you can have fun, you can use other people, and I do. Other people make suggestions. I don't do as many crazy calls as Mike, but I will take suggestions. I did it more before I did the clear the deck Cannonball Coming. I would use different things, but now that's kind of my call. But sometimes if a certain player comes around, I might do something different. And I did Connor Joe. Mike loved, he loved the Beatles, but he loved, oh gosh, darn. I don't know if the Beatles were his favorite group or not. Maybe it was. But anyway, one of the songs Paul McCartney does, Look Out Loretta. There's a line in Look Out, that's from a song that Paul McCartney did. It says, get back, JoJo. And so when Connor Joe hit a home run, I'd say something like, get back, JoJo, kind of an ode to Mike and the Beatles. So stuff like that. It's fun.
And with all of your notable calls, Greg, with obviously Cannonball Coming and Raise the Jolly Roger, did that stem with an inspiration to try to carry on Mike's legacy in a way, knowing he had his signature calls and you have yours?
I can't say that for sure that was because of Mike. It was more, the end of game call was at the behest of Bob Walk. He said, you got to have an end of game call. Everybody else has one. You don't have one. And I fought him back and forth. And he kind of suggested, I told him that I had an idea years ago about Three River Stadium. When the Pirates won a game, I suggested to the vice president that we put a big jolly skull and crossbones pirate flag up on the top of Three River Stadium. And Bob said, well, pirates do that when they capture a ship. They put up, that's called the Jolly Roger. And he goes, why don't you say hoist the Jolly Roger? I said, it's not bad. It was a little too formal. So tweaked it to Raise the Jolly Roger. I guess what the one thing Mike did, not inspire me to do it, but to knowing that I could do it without taking myself too seriously, having fun with those calls. I think that's probably it more than anything else.
Oh, okay. And, and then moving on, still with your time with the Pirates, this was a question I thought of when I was driving home on my way home from work. So obviously broadcasting baseball, every play-by-play announcer who has broadcast a baseball game knows you got to have a scoreboard or a scorecard, I should say, in front of you. Do you have any, Greg, that you maybe have in a plaque or just keep with maybe some of your notable Pirate games that you've called in your career?
Well, I've got every single score book somewhere around here. I've got somewhere. I got all this stuff everywhere. Do I have this one? No, okay, here. I keep every one of them. So I've got, years and years and years of, and I tweak them all the time too, Colton.
I love that.
This was this year, it's 2024, but every year I tweak them. I go to Kinko's, FedEx, and they laugh when I walk in there because here we go again. Um, yeah, I've got years and years and years and years of score books that I've tweaked and used. Uh, this is one from 1999.
How about that?
Wow, how about that? 1999. Let's see how different it looks compared to the other ones. This was smaller. Now they've gone bigger and again tweaking them. But so this one, the Pirates are playing the Cardinals, and Jason Schmidt pitches 7 innings of 5 hit ball, 2 unearned runs. Um, yeah, not a ton of information on that one, but yeah. So I keep them all. They're like a score book or a score card for a baseball announcer is like it's like your Bible, you know. It's you have to have it. It's your go-to. A lot of people, you go online now, but no, I'm not going to do that. I need to write stuff down. I've got a terrible memory, so I need to really write everything down. A lot of times I don't use the stuff that I write down, but it's there in case.
Yeah, and that actually leads me into my next question, Greg. So, how was that like preparing for games during the off season, and how was it like preparing for games in the season, knowing that you pretty much had a game a night from March, April, all the way till September?
Yeah, you try and do most of your work in the off season. At least I do. And if I go, I try to read as much stuff. I try and, I've tried to go to OneNote. I've used that. Joe Block actually showed me that, suggested it. I used to keep everything in notebooks, and I've kept a lot of these old notebooks. I used to handwrite. I used to literally take stories, Colton, from magazines and paste them into these notebooks, um, along with the notes that I would write. I don't know if you can see, what is this?
Going,
This is
going, Gonzo is what it
Two
says.
Men, Two Leagues. The Triple Crown winners hasn't happened since 1993. So again, this is in 2001, and I don't know how close you can see to
Let's
that,
see,
but
two men, two leagues, two Triple Crown winners. Hasn't happened since 1933. Chuck Klein, NL, and Jimmy Fox, AL, have never been by guys sharing. Have never been by guys sharing a last name. This year, Juan and Luis
ah,
Gonzalez could do it.
how about that? So that's a cute little nugget there. You know, you just don't get that by dialing something up or on the internet. But yeah, all kinds of stuff, man. Just wild, wild, wacky stuff, man. Crazy.
And what's usually in front of you, Greg, during a broadcast?
I have my scorebook, of course. I have my uh, Android. I had to go to an iPhone, which I'm not liking at all. I was Android forever. Now I'm just getting used to the last few weeks of the Android. Look what's on my home screen. Can you see that?
Oh, yes. Oh, God,
Next
already
to your schedule?
got it ready. Already got it ready.
Because then you can just go, because so many dates are coming up. People are asking you stuff, and you go, no, can't do it at home. Yeah, okay, good. Um, and I've got my laptop, which includes is very important, especially on radio, because that has the live uh, promo reads that we have to do each night, and that's on my laptop. And I have at least 2 iPads, actually probably two iPads, my phone and laptop and scorebook.
How, what do
An
you
egg
have?
timer if I'm on radio, egg timer, and a little digital clock on radio that lets me know when we have to take station IDs at the top and the bottom of the hour.
What's usually on your laptop, Greg, during a broadcast? Because with me, I usually have a million links open on mine when
Yeah,
I do broadcasting.
I've got a one-track mind, and so it's very difficult for me to do more than one thing at one time. If I'm on TV, probably have the Slack channel where we our AT&T Sportsnet. Geez, oh man, Sportsnet Pittsburgh. My apologies, Sportsnet Pittsburgh. We changed names. Uh, they employ a statistician and about five or six folks who do the stats for us are located in New York, Seattle. One guy a night. They switch off, but we are in touch with them, so we can ask, you know, questions if all of a sudden we have four straight walks to start the ball game. Last time, four straight walks to start a game, and then they can quickly look it up and let us know. So we cheat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Greg, so in the summer of 2011, I remember watching, I can't remember if you were on TV or on radio at the time. So in the summer of 2011, you guys were in Houston. I was watching your broadcasts with my grandfather, and then somebody named Starling Marte comes up to the plate and hits a home run on his very first pitch. And I remember watching that game with my grandfather, and saying and mentioning towards the end of the broadcast how like he was like the first Pirates player to hit a home run on his first pitch since the 50s, and it's like, oh, that's really cool information. Let's see, fifth grade. I had to be like 12 years old at the time, but now as a 26-year-old and as a broadcaster thinking, I was like, okay, well, now I know that I'm sure there was a statistician who had to look that up like sometime during the game and then finally confirming it and make sure it's on the air correctly.
Well, yeah, that time we didn't have a statistician. Our PR guys who were traveling with us probably told us that. And I use our media guides, although more and more, Colton, those are being phased out. I like leafing through the media guide. I don't like having to scroll because time is of the essence, and especially with a pitch clock. So I need to quickly rifle through a media guide, and knowing media guides as I do, know where to go category wise. The last time this happened, and so you could do that back in the day. That's how oftentimes you would get information, and so it could have been back then in 2011. I was on TV that night. Either I looked up last time it happened, where it would say home run on first pitch, major league start, or perhaps that information came to us via the on-site PR guy. Good chance that happened also. And a lot of times they give you announcements during games, public address from the press box that was the first time since blah 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 blah. My pet peeve with that is that these ballparks don't make sense. The speakers in the back, you're at the front where all the crowd is, and you have a headset on. You can't hear the speaker in the back. What they should do, and there are a couple, I don't know now who does this, but they used to. A couple ballparks had actually a separate speaker, standalone small speaker right in front of you, like looking at you, so that you could hear these press box announcements.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is phenomenal, Greg. And then, knowing now you obviously have your broadcast partners and then also your fellow play by play announcer with Mr. Joe Block. So, do you and Joe work together before games to get ready for them? And, how do you work together in general as the two play by play announcers for the team?
Well, one time they did that, and it was an absolute treat. And actually, the end of spring training, we'll try, and they're usually it's a radio only game, the last spring training game, um, and we usually have two color analysts, one or two with us in the booth. We just say, you know what, let's all work together. We do a chaos 4-person booth, and I get to work with Joe. There was one game where they decided several years ago to have three color analysts do the game on TV in spring training. No play-by-play guy. So Joe and I worked play-by-play on the radio, and we had an absolute blast. I think Joe's one of the funniest humans I've ever met. Joe is so clever. He's so smart. He's got my sense of humor. It's very dry. Um, and so it was an absolute, we were impersonating like 1920 announcers. Uh, we were just, I don't know, it was sacrilegious, but I know some people probably didn't like it because it wasn't very serious, but it was a lot of fun. So, but leading up to a game, we really don't do much. Joe does a ton of prep, um, especially when he's doing a TV game, he will look up all kinds of stuff on Baseball Reference. He's a whiz with a computer, and he'll get all kinds of notes and send it to all of us. And yeah, but I don't have that in me. I just can't. Uh, yeah, if we know something, if one of us does the manager show before every game, we don't both do it. And so if Donnie Kelly says something of interest, say, hey, by the way, or after we stop recording, hey, just so you know, Donnie said that this pitcher is not going to go more than 80 pitches tonight, or so and so is probably hurt and not going to play this weekend.